Hey guys, and welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. It is a weekly chat about socially conscious topics impacting the culture. I'd like to extend my gratitude in you listening to this podcast. It means everything to me, and I hope it is clear that this subject matter is so important to me. I care about our people, our future, and making a positive change in this nation.
This episode is powered by Poddex.
Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Woke by Accident podcast. Today we are joined by Alphiel Levi from the Forefront Radio, who will host with me. And we have Lisa Woolfork from the Stitch Please audio show. Lisa Woolfork is a scholar, sewist, community organizer, professor, and podcaster. She is the founder of the Black Women Stitch sewing group where Black Lives Matter and the host of the fabulous audio show called Stitch Please. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you so much, Jen. I am so glad to be here and honored to be here with you and Levi. Thank you for all the work that you do in our community to help Black content creators and Black thinkers and Black influencers, what we call on my podcast, help us get our stitch together. So thank you very much for that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. And I love the work that you do. I definitely love the work that you do. I come from a family of sewers. I sew a little tiny bit.
You shouldn't have told me that. Now you're in trouble. I'm going to be on you every month. Hey, Jen, you sewed something yet? Hey, Jen, you plugged in that sewing machine yet? Hey, Jen, you want to make a scarf? It's wintertime.
See? Look, my niece broke my sewing machine.
What?
It wasn't a very good one, though. It was like a little cheap. I think it was like a beginner sewing machine, and it was so cute. It was pink and green, and she's like, "Oh, show me how to sew," and that child broke my sewing machine.
See, people play too much. There's certain things you just can't loan out.
Yeah.
It's like either you can have it, but yeah, there's no use in my sewing machine. Not unless you have the resources to pay for repairs or replacement. But otherwise, I got a little play machine for you. You can use that.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to get another one because I do, and I have some ideas for making some things. Like I have like a bag of my father's old ties.
Yes.
And my father passed away in 2016, and I want to do something. I want to like cut up his ties and make something, but I just don't know what yet.
There's so many things. I've seen people do these really beautiful tie crafts. We can talk about this after the broadcast.
Yeah, for sure. Totally.
You don't want me to tell you the whole list of projects I might imagine you could make with men's ties, but I think it'd be a beautiful tribute and a great memory for you.
Yeah, and it's so funny that I brought that up because it came to my mind when looking at your fabulous studio with all the threads and all of that, and like I want to make something because I'm like so into crafting. So, yes. But yeah, I appreciate that and the story behind it. So Lisa's going to talk about her projects, what she has been doing with Stitch Please and the group Black Women Stitch. I really want to hear about that. And then her experience with the Charlottesville, Virginia 2017 protests, where there's an incident there you guys may remember, where hundreds of white nationalists converged to Charlottesville in Virginia to protest the removal of the Confederate monument. So we're going to talk about that as well. And so first, share with us about Stitch.
Okay, so Black Women Stitch is a sewing group where Black Lives Matter. And I created this group because I thought it was vital that Black women, girls, and femmes who often find ourselves in isolation in mainstream sewing communities could have a site, a place, a resource for belonging. And that is something that I absolutely wanted to do, something that I thought was vital and necessary. I believe that it is important for Black folks to have leisure activities, hobby activities, things that are restorative, things that bring joy to our lives. And we should be able to practice these things in community. what I had come away with after my experience of racist and white supremacist terrorism was that the communities that I had previously been part of as the lonely only Black person, or maybe one of two at the absolute most, was that the communities were not capable, these majority white, all white communities were not capable of providing the support that I needed, um, part- particularly after a white supremacist terror attack, particularly after um, a really demonstrated and active white supremacy and anti-Black racism. They are not equipped to deal with that. And the way they want to deal with it is to ignore it, which puts an additional kind of feeling of outsiderness.
Mhm.
And it had been, and I had been doing this for many years. I had been what I call sewing with the whites for many, many years, decades, and still have, some friends or some acquaintance connections of people that I know. But when it comes down to it, because sewing is so meaningful to me, it became necessary for me to create a new way to be in the habit and the and the practice of sewing. Because I love it so much,
Mhm.
I realized that I am no longer willing to audition my humanity in exchange for doing something I love. And that is often what being in these groups felt like. It felt like I was clearly their exceptional Negro. I was the one, it just felt
Mm.
like I was the person that they would say, "Oh, we know this Black girl, and she's real smart. She teaches at the university. Oh, yeah, I'm not racist. I know a Black person, and we're very friendly and cordial," like that kind of thing. And
Mm.
I am completely committed to centering Black women, girls, and femmes in sewing because I believe it is necessary. I believe it is an ancestral craft. And I believe that the the majority of sewing, the way that it comes either through sewing patterns, sewing blogs, sewing images on the internet, often pop up with the images of white women first.
Mhm.
And so I just wanted us to be able to see ourselves, and I wanted to essentially build what I needed. And that is what helped me to create what I have currently and what I'm hoping it will be the foundation for future growth.
Phenomenal, phenomenal.
Mm.
In 2017, Charlottesville, Virginia, there was a protest where an incident occurred where hundreds of Christian extremists, white supremacists, white nationalists came to a protest involving a Confederate monument. The Unite the Right rally became one of the most deadliest things we've seen in recent history when a car rammed into a crowd of counter protesters, killing Heather Heyer, and many others were also injured, which tells me that although white supremacy exists, they don't care whether you're white or black. They will still use their alleged authority to discriminate and cause harm. So while you were there, tell us about your experience in protesting the Unite the Right rally in Charlottesville.
So I need to back up a little bit because the August 2017 rally is the one that most people know about. What the truth of the matter is that Charlottesville, Virginia had white supremacist rallies, including those with fire, starting in May. There was a rally in May, there was a rally in June, there was the Klan came in July, and then in August, that's when it was Nazis, neo-Confederates, white supremacists, national socialists, like a whole like confederation of white supremacists. They were coming because they were upset that our city council had voted to remove their Civil War participation trophies. These are racist relics that were designed and installed in the 19 teens, 1920s to establish public space as for white people versus black people. So you put a Confederate statue in this park, and that's the white park. And then you build another park across town and you call it the Booker T. Washington Park, and that's for the blacks. This is exactly what happened in Charlottesville. Like these are just basic facts. There was a fundamental misunderstanding about what a Confederate statue is. There were folks who who revered them and loved them because they revere and love the Confederacy. There are people out there who you might imagine do not believe anything to be racist, not even slavery. And so they were very upset that we were going to take away their Civil War participation trophies. And so they thronged in to defend white supremacy. They saw in us removing their racist statue something about their own quality of life being diminished because there were no longer state and city funded monuments to a white supremacist republic that failed to overturn the country. When you think about it, the idea that even that we have U.S. military bases that have the name of Confederate generals on them show that this country cares way more about whiteness than it does about democracy or anything else. And I participated in these rallies. I did some teach-ins. I sewed for a creative arts team. I worked with the media team and offered and did trainings. And so it became really important for us here in Charlottesville to contribute all that we could to the narrative about Charlottesville. And that's one of the reasons that I got so involved, because the media was telling one story and they were telling it all over the place, but it was not the whole story. And in some ways, it wasn't even the true story. And so this happens a lot when a city gets turned into a hashtag. Everybody else becomes the expert and you get reduced to content. And that is something that we definitely struggled and pushed against. But we're also really happy to report that those statues, our racist statues, are gone.
Okay, good.
So, and we're still here, and that means something.
And what was the aftermath like after that? Because I mean, you lived there all the time, and you've kind of seen like what things were like before and after.
I think the aftermath, personally, for me and my spouse, who were both there when the car came through and killed Heather Heyer, it was personally incredibly difficult. It's the kind of thing that really does change your life forever. And there are folks who were way more affected than we were. People who have physical injuries in addition to emotional trauma, things that they have yet to recover from still, because they got caught under the wheels of the car, like those kind of things. But I really don't believe I can't honestly say that I've seen like lots and lots of change or progress in this community. And what we've seen is the desire to pretend or to kind of put on a quick, pretty face, to say that everything is different and we've moved on and look at our compelling story. And that's not the case. The reason that our statues are gone, it was not because Heather was murdered. Heather was murdered, and there were still judges saying that the statues were innocent, that the statues didn't do anything wrong, that to remove the statues would hurt the community because people in the community love the statues. I mean, it was just, none of it was this thing happened and this triggered another thing. Not at all. It was still constant pressure. It was still lawsuits. It was still all manner of demands to just have the racist statues removed. And that, I mean, it's really, it's just appalling, and it makes me concerned for the future of this nation and what type of democracy it really wants to have. And when I look around, I am really concerned about this preoccupation with the white birth rate, this whole replacement theory nonsense, all of this kind of panic about white people not being in as much power as white people once were, when white people still have a lot of power, still have more. Like, what was that? I think it's some kind of statistic that says like the average white family has a net worth of like $125,000, but the average net worth for a Black family is like $17,000. I mean, it's just these gaps are real, and they come from systemic things. It's not just, yeah. So I think I'll just land there. Racism is
The
bad
reality
and it
of
sucks.
what we see in today's society is that they want to paint an illustration of a postmodern, colorblind society. And I like one of the quotes that Maya Angelou said. She said, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. America, since its inception, has been built on genocide and deleting people and things of that nature. And we have to call it out for what it is. So I appreciate your work in doing so and the efforts that you take to expose these truths.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And I think that it's worth pointing out too that projects like the 1619 project are now being rendered unlawful by lots of different states like Oklahoma, Texas, Florida. A lot of these are Wyoming are pushing laws to make the 1619 project by Nicole Hannah Jones that
Mhm.
talks about the origins of or the basically the roots of blackness in American democracy. Like these are all truthful things that she is saying. And yet, because they make white folks feel uncomfortable, they are not allowed. And that is this new um, don't say gay, don't talk about racism. Who is this?
Oh yeah,
Who is this designed to help?
right. I mean, they
Not gay people and people suffering from racism. That's for sure.
they want to ban some Toni Morrison books in school. I mean, they want to do, they want to take everything away, history out of the history books, and yeah.
Whew, it's a mess. It is a mess, and that's why I think it's so important that you all are doing the work that you do to make sure that these conversations still happen. That these ideas get put into the larger quote unquote marketplace of ideas. That these things aren't forgotten or erased.
Oh, for sure, definitely. And yeah, that's a lot. I mean, you wear many hats.
I know. It's like I got a big ass head. A lot of
You might
hats.
have to take a class in time management or something.
I mean,
But I mean, I love how I can see how sewing can be an outlet. I mean, you do projects, you take on tasks, you have your own personal projects, but I can tell like it means something to you and you enjoy it.
yes,
Hmm.
absolutely. I'm working through this idea about creative liberation and the idea of the practice of making and why people I think like crafts is
Hmm.
because of the kind of the beautiful process of transformation that you can take a set of raw ingredients and turn it into some beautiful food. You can look out at nature and you can take an image that is something you can remember forever, even once this moment has passed. There's so much power in the creative arts and in the process of creating that it feels like it helps to unlock the way one experiences life more
Hmm.
freely. And that's the thing that I love to tap into with sewing.
That's awesome. Yeah, definitely all need an outlet. I encourage everybody to take something up, that you learn something new, perhaps.
Yes.
Yeah, I heard you talking about like how your grandmother sewed and that kind of thing, and that just made me think about my family. I had an aunt in particular that sewed, like she made my sixth grade banquet
Wow.
dress
Oh,
with
that's
kente cloth.
wonderful. Oh my
Hmm.
gosh. I bet that was so cute.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh wow, like this is really I still have it, and it's probably like and it's like the way that she made it, and then I wanted, because like at the time it was like being Afrocentric was cool.
Yes, of course.
And then all that's coming back now.
Yes.
Everything is, yeah. So that's awesome. And I, like I said, I have all these ideas, but yeah. So you made a podcast about sewing and your life and the lifestyle. How did that come about?
So, the Stitch Please podcast is where we help you get your stitch together. We center Black women, girls, and femmes in sewing. That's who we interview and speak with, but also do solo episodes talking about different fabric trends, fabric styles, projects, notions, tools, those types of things. I also have a couple of limited edition series. My favorite so far has been Stitching Holiday Traditions, where we do individual audio diaries from people in the community that talk about how their sewing influences the way they celebrate holidays. And so that's been a lot of fun. And the podcast began, it grew out of a Black Women Stitch event. We had a retreat, we had a get together, and the very first one, and we were really like just enjoying talking to each other and wanted to figure out a way to kind of keep the conversation going. And it was just so rare to have to sit and sew with a bunch of Black women like this, and we wanted to share the energy of that feeling. And so the podcast became a way to kind of trap that energy and to share it more broadly than with the people who were assembled in the same physical space. And the podcast has absolutely been a joy. I have really enjoyed doing it. I love the people that I talk to, and I also love just feeling like I'm talking to myself directly into a microphone about something sewing related. Like, this is why you need to have one of these tools. It's essential,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really fun. And so that is how the podcast started. And
Okay.
we've been doing quite well. I think between we had some bonus episodes, and then in the
Mhm.
beginning I thought I was doing an episode. When I first started, the schedule was a mess. I knew I wanted to do weekly, but I didn't know that the weekly, I didn't know if I could do it. So I was like, okay, well, I will do an episode every other week, and then I'll do a bonus episode every other week. And it's like, girl, you just have a weekly podcast. Stop with this bonus episode versus regular episode. So the numbering is off. But there are about 155 pieces of 155 audio episodes that are
Mm.
standalone. But the numbering of the episodes, because the bonuses aren't included, we're at about, I think, 140 right now, or 138 or something.
Oh, kudos. That's
Yeah. So
amazing.
yeah, I've been going every week strong since September of 2019. Touch wood, haven't missed any dates yet. And yeah, I don't have seasons because I didn't figure that out. But like, I'm like,
Okay.
just all of it is to the good for now. I'm thinking about maybe trying to transition to seasons, maybe just to give myself a bit of a break. But
Yeah.
the way that it's set up is, it's been working really well. It's been working really well, and I, like, right now I have episodes recorded through maybe through November, that are
Okay.
just ready to be published, because I love talking to people.
Oh,
So
that's amazing. Look at you. All
oh,
right. The
I'm
content.
I'm a bat. Yes, I love batch recording. Love it. And like I did end up getting myself kind of caught out there earlier this month when it was like, oh, wait a minute, I don't have any interviews queued up that I want to share. These other ones are going to be for this rollout. All right, I better go to get on here and talk about something. And I did, because there's a million topics in sewing, and I love talking
There
about sewing.
is. Yeah, I have
But
a lady I want to send you. I'm gonna DM
oh,
you
please do,
later.
please do. I love getting
Okay.
guests. I found a lot of amazing people
Okay.
from the podcast community, as well as other sewists that I might interview will recommend people. So
And
I
she even knows about you too.
no way.
Yeah, we were in a room talking. I want to say the house we just set up on Clubhouse or something,
Oh
and she
wow.
popped in, and we were talking. And I think you just missed her when she had to hop out or something like that. And she makes these headbands.
Oh,
And she was like, "Oh yeah, I know about her because I
oh
brought
that's
you up."
that's
Yeah.
awesome. Look at you. Look at
Mhm.
you pulling community together. Look at you organizing and
You
helping people
know,
get what they need. Look at you. You
it just
connector, you.
it comes together sometimes, you know?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. So, Levi, do you have anything else to add or ask Lisa?
No, unfortunately, my internet. So yeah.
Okay, well, we appreciate Levi joining us today. Let's see. Tell us where we can find this podcast.
Okay, you can find the Stitch Please podcast on anywhere you get your podcast. It's on Apple, Pandora. It's an Alexa skill. If you say, Alexa, play the Stitch Please podcast, they say it'll play it. I don't know because I don't have one of the spy bots in my house. And then you can find it on Audible, Spotify, Podbean, all manner of podcast players. And you can also find it directly on the Black Women Stitch website, which is www.blackwomenstitch.org. And if folks want to support the work financially, there is a Black Women Stitch Patreon page if you want to contribute monthly. And there's also a Black Women Stitch Act Blue page if you want to make a single tax-deductible donation.
Awesome. We will have those links posted in the notes. We encourage you guys to support. Lisa's doing amazing things and she is educating people. I just love that you're a professor too. Like, I love that. Come on now. We got the Instagram out there too. Yeah, so we definitely support our creatives. So kudos to you and everything that you do.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. This has been such a really nice time. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Levi, for the invitation. I just love how this grew out of your Clubhouse club. I just happened to be popping in and we started talking. And the next thing, I think it was Levi that was like, hey, let's get you on the podcast. And it's like, haha.
Yeah. We have some really good ideas that just kind of come around. So it was really cool being around other people that, get it,
Yes. That get it. Get it. And that's in some way what Black Women Stitch itself is about. And the Stitch Please podcast as well. Like, and I've talked to folks who take the podcast who say, I listen to you while I'm sewing and I love it. So it's nice to be kind of a companion in that way.
For sure. All right, guys. Well, we thank you guys for listening. You guys take care. For sure.
Thank you again.
You're welcome. Take care. At this time, we're going to go ahead and conclude the episode. We greatly appreciate you listening. We invite you to follow us on social media. On Instagram, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. On Twitter, it is Woke by. On Facebook, it is Woke by Accident Podcast. We also have the new website up, www.wokebyaccident.net. Please check us out and also follow us on all of your favorite streaming platforms, and please leave a review and share feedback. You can also reach out by Gmail, wokebyaccident@gmail.com. And every time you listen, we appreciate it so much. Thank you for listening and take care.